Steve Darrow would like to know, do you watch any of the long-form interview shows such as Joe Rogan, Shapiro's Sunday Special, The Rubin Report, Candace Owens, question mark? I think you would be good in those settings. I know you did Rubin's show. Since most of those are based in your neighborhood, can you use your contacts to gain an invite? Um, uh, yes, I suppose I can. It's easier for me to invite. It's easy for me to invite people to interview, and we did a bunch of them with After Hours. It's kind of awkward for me to invite myself to an interview. Um, the the honest truth of it is, I spent a year, like a full year, um, pursuing this Star Citizen thing because I was obsessed by it. I still think it's the future. I think it is the stepping stone into feature filmmaking. Every day that goes by, I become more and more convinced. My wife and I were driving down the streets, Sherman Oaks the other day, and we saw a movie set, and there's just trailer after trailer after trailer, and this giant arc lights, and they're got a crew of 30 to feed or 300 to feed or so on, and then you got to pay all the actors and the insurance, all of this stuff. If you've ever been on a movie set, it's an army, and it's boring because it takes forever. And actors will sit there and they'll do one scene and then they'll go outside and they'll sit there for 3.5, 4 hours while they light the next setup. But I was looking at all of these trucks and remembering how big a deal it is and why movies cost as much as they do. And I just remember thinking, nah, no one's going to do this. In 2 or 3 years, no one's going to do it. I am already seeing, and this is real time, mind you. This is like 60 frames a second, which is inconceivable to me. But I'm seeing 60 frames a second motion capture of a human face that I cannot distinguish, and I'm an expert at this. I cannot distinguish this from a person. Now these are still just tests, but it's in real time, 60 frames a second. And when I talk to people about the Aurora project, I tell them that in another year or two I'll be able to make Lawrence of Arabia in the studio, and you won't be able to tell the difference. I not only see, this is the thing. I know I'll get back to the actual question, but all of the stuff that we want to do for the Aurora project and stuff it's important, and it's in fact I think it's critically important. But with the facilities needed to do those videos, we are now really right on the cusp of the end of feature filmmaking as we knew it. Why would you take 50 people in a convoy of trucks 600 miles to shoot a scene on a location, and then have to feed them, keep them there overnight, pay them overtime, the lighting guys, the sound guys. It's moving an army in order to get what you're looking for. But I'm beginning to realize, I'm not saying I entirely like this, mind you, don't get me wrong, but with facial motion capture being as good as it is now, and body mocap, why would you do that? Why would you just not make it here? If you have an actor that's got little dots on his face, and those aren't even needed anymore. Guy's wearing a suit and he's got a camera in front of him, and you can do as many of these actors as you want. But let's just say it's two people having a conversation together. I wanted to do, and I still want to do this. I not only want to, I am going to do this Big Bad Problems movie, which I always saw as a live action film, and I still see it as a live action film. However, I will not make this if this film is not able to be made so that you can't tell it's not an actual movie, then I won't make it. But then I'll go out and shoot it for real. But for more and more production, I'm beginning to really see the light on this. I think, at least for a person my age, I think I am well ahead of the curve on this. I don't think people realize, as a general rule, how the billions and billions and billions of dollars generated by the computer game industry has driven this technology to the point where, why would I take 60 people 500 miles? Why not just take 2 people in here? The acting's all that really matters, and that's being translated, voice, face, motion, all that stuff's being translated onto a character that you cannot tell is real. You can put him in an environment that you won't be able to tell is real. You'll be able to light it in a way that you could never light anything for real. And that's how movies are going to be made. Undoubtedly, there will continue to be live action shots out there and all the rest of it, but when you think about the effort necessary for getting a film made, it's monstrous, and I don't see any reason why. The reason I am convinced this is going to happen, I told Natasha this, is not because I think it's cool or because Hollywood thinks it's cool. I think it's going to happen because it's going to be orders of magnitude less expensive, and that's why it's going to get done. Because it's going to be orders of magnitude less expensive. You know, it's like this business now, the film business has been changing so much, and we watched it change. I know this didn't have much to do with Dave Rubin, but I'll get back to him. And one of the things that we watched was watching production leave California because it's so expensive to shoot in California. I shot a scene down on Venice Beach, and I needed permits, and I think it cost $12,000. That was back in the day. And it's just nuts. So now you hear about all this production that's going to Georgia or it's going to, Vancouver because they're offering tax breaks, New Mexico. And then I realized, who cares about that anymore? We're not, there's no location. It doesn't matter. We don't need permits to go out in the streets of Los Angeles because we're not going out in the streets anywhere. We don't need permits to go anywhere. We're gonna eventually just be able to do whatever we want to in here. And I find that actually very exciting, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so fired up about all of this stuff. And I'm going to tie this up in a bow with the interview question, because I started out seeing the potential for video game characters, and then as this technology advanced, and as I stayed watching a lot of these videos constantly about what the game engines are doing and stuff. And then I started seeing videos where I said, I cannot tell I just don't know that that's not a person. And that's when it occurred to me that this is not just where video game type entertainment is going. It's where the movies are going. And it's where the big movies are going. Why would you spend $50 million to take people all around the world and stuff when you can spend $5 million and just pay the actors and a couple of flunkies on a motion capture stage? Andy Serkis is going to go down in history as essentially kind of the combination of Charlie Chaplin and oh my God, what's his name? You got to give me a second here. I really do want to know this. Oh, come on. D.W. Griffith. He's a pioneer, and he is really good at this. And his performance, first of all, is as Gollum, and then he played King Kong, and then he played Planet Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. He has been so good at this. It's pretty much all him, to be honest with you. That Andy Serkis has made this thing possible. He's made people believe it. We just saw, my wife and I just watched Lord of the Rings. She'd never seen it before. It was my 5th or 6th times through the extended edition, 3 movies, 4 hours each. And having not seen it for a couple of years and having been as involved in CG as I have been lately, I was beginning to see a lot about Gollum that didn't look real to me. It looked very real to me when I saw it in 2001, 2, and 3. So even then, it's advancing. But Andy Serkis, by the way, who was hired as an extra or something, he really was. He was hired as an extra in Nothing Burger, as a guy he needed somebody to climb in a suit and climb up a ladder for the first one, and what he did with the face and the performance and the voice, he was so impressive that Peter Jackson remodeled Gollum between the first movie and the second two. If you look at Gollum in the first movie, you only get one glimpse of him. He's like, climbing up, following him after they're in the mines of Moria. You get one look at his face, completely different from the character that ended up in 2 and 3, because the Gollum in 2 and 3 was based on Andy Serkis. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing guy. I really have an enormous, enormous respect for him. Anyway, I said all of this, Steve, because this whole thing is so exciting to me, and so I'm so convinced that this is the future of political messaging, of any kind of messaging. It's the future of entertainment. It's the future of getting into people's subconscious minds through the willing suspension of disbelief. And I spent a year tracking this thing down and feeling the pressure, believe it or not, constant pressure of the fact that I wasn't doing enough of the political work. I mean, we went 10 months, I think, without a firewall. A lot of that was the fact that the last firewall I did on Jamie Foxx had 65,000 views. I thought it was incredibly low. And then I do the one last week, Eyewitness to a Massacre. I think it's at 17,000, 7,000. How I can have 125,000 subscribers and have it be seen by 17,000 people is interesting, don't you think? So, but these are the rules. This is the game, whether I like it or not. So to answer your question, Steve, I took a long time going down that path, and we got a lot done, and we have a lot to do, and I'm very, very excited about the future of it. But I did certainly neglect the political stuff because I was just out of time. And with Scott getting the new website up, we went, we were doing right angles. We were doing, 5 shows a week, a show a day on right angle. That was better part of 8 or 9 months. No, it wasn't that long. 6 months. 4 or 5 months ago, Scott and I had the idea to do Bill Whittle Now. That's been every day, so that's 10 shows a week. And then I just realized a couple weeks ago, a month ago maybe, it's like I need to do these firewalls. And I was convinced I was written out. What I really needed was a break. I needed some time away from these things to get my head onto other stuff. And so now I'm back. I've done 3 firewalls in 3 weeks, and I will do a firewall a week unless something comes up. But the plan is a firewall a week. And I'm doing all this stuff because I want the members back. I want my members back. I don't blame anybody for falling off, especially since some of the time it's been like we hired teams of cryptographers to make it absolutely certain that nobody could give me any money, make it so difficult that it was impossible to pay me, even if you really, 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 really wanted to. So we're trying to put all those problems behind us. But it's like coming out of a loop, Steve. So the roundabout, our roundabout answer to your question is I haven't been on those shows for a while because I've been off the radar for a while, and I know it, and I feel it, and it's going to take a little while to get back on the radar, but that's the price I paid for doing what I did, and I don't regret it for one instance. And I think when the fat ladies finished singing, by the way, I used to hear Kate Smith singing "God Bless America" in the Buck Rogers show. It's not an experience I particularly cared for, to be honest with you. As I get back, getting these priorities correct, and none of this would be possible without Scott Ott. None of it. Scott does all the work on Bill Whittle Now. He prepares the questions, he does the editing, posts it, does the descriptions. It's all him. I just sit there and, gas about things. But I have to tell you, Bill Whittle Now, I would like to see that show go wider. And I had lunch with Jeremy Boring a couple months ago, I guess now. And he said, look, it's Bill Whittle Now is a great show. I'd buy it from you. It is a way to hold on to members. But you're not going to get new people with that. I thought, yeah, he's probably right. But with that said, after 10 years of doing these firewalls and afterburners, I think um, um, I think Bill Whittle now is a tremendous show, and the reason I think it's a tremendous show is because Scott is so good at the follow-up questions and so on. That show is about testing conservatism. That show is about conservatism versus the world. That's what that show's about. And I never know what he's going to ask me, ever. Stuff comes right out of the blue. The Chinese are cloning people. What do you think about that? Well, what do my principles tell me? What do my principles say about that? And so we start, half the time at least I haven't given it any thought, and I start thinking about, all right, well, where's the freedom angle? That's the number one thing. Where's the freedom angle? Okay, that's good. Now, is there moral harm being done here? Well, if there is, then we have to look at that. And I just think it's, we did 133, we recorded 133 shows, and tomorrow we're going to do 134 and 135. And it's, there's hardly a week goes by when we don't, Scott says that, thanks for the members of making this possible. And we just a beat of silence, and then the show's over. We're still recording often, and I'm talking to Scott on the Skype, and I said, "Man, I have no idea where that came from. It was just really cool. It was a cool answer. I have no idea where it came from." So anyway, the two things that are going on, Steve, is we're putting out a major effort to recover as many of the members that we lost, and instead of me telling everybody about what I'm going to do, which is my 10-year-old practice, largely because of Scott's influence and Natasha's influence, both of whom made me a much better person, Natasha especially. I'm just doing it. And I like the one I did yesterday a lot. I liked them all. And this is the thing. They're so hard for me to write. And it's like every time I sat down and wrote them, I liked them all. I never wrote one I didn't like. I expect that when we get those firewalls out there all the time, we start picking up the numbers and start getting back on the radar again, then I will get calls to do these shows. I'm having lunch with Jeremy next week, as a matter of fact. But in any event, it's a very good question, and it certainly stings a bit. There was a chance to get to CPAC. Somebody was talking about getting me to CPAC, and they talked to the directors of CPAC, and none of them knew who I was. That doesn't bother me particularly because I'm not in this to have people recognize me. But it was a bit of a shock, to be honest with you, after 10 years of doing this, and it was an indication of how far off the radar I'd gotten. So now we're putting the horse in front of the cart where it belongs, and the fever broke. I still spend a lot of time on it, on the video game stuff. I keep saying video game stuff. It's got nothing to do with video games. On animated productions, animated computer-generated political messaging. But nevertheless, we're back in order here, and we got 3 firewalls in 3 weeks, and next week we'll have 4 firewalls in 4 weeks. So I'm not going to really ask for people to come back until I have a reasonable track record of delivering what I say I'm going to deliver. Because build time has always been much slower than real time, and can't do that anymore. So I'm hoping to be on all of those shows. I know Ben very well, and I've never met Joe Rogan. I did the segments with Candace Owens, and I did Ruben's show, and I think when I saw him last, he said, "Yeah, you need to come back to do another one." So we'll see. But anyway, that's the plan, and like I said, it's a little easier to invite people to do interviews, have me interview people, than it is for me to call up people and say, "Hey, can I be on your show?" Although, frankly, if I was half good at this, that's exactly what I would be doing. If only somebody could let them know. Foghorn got this whole thing right, by the way. The new BillWhittle.com motto is join for the guilt and stay for the people. That's really a big breakthrough idea that Scott had. Was that what we really have here is an astonishing group of people, and the whole thing with Merlin and his wife and all that stuff really just woke me up to the fact that no, there is nobody like this. I've never met a group of people like this. Yeah, and the members on the new site, the stuff the members are posting is phenomenal. I mean, I'm looking at virtually all of these posts. I usually don't have time to comment on all of them, but in any event, I'm just watching members posting stories, which is cool, but writing their own stuff, which is fantastic, and I really proud of that. And one of the things I'm most proud about is the chance to give you fine people a platform. It's not much of a platform now, but it's going to get bigger. And every time I go to the website, I see 5 or 6 new posts from members, which is refreshing. Once we get these things under control, we're just trying to get to enough members. We have right now, we have one financial mission, which is past surviving to the next month. And that mission is getting Scott full time, because he's just running himself ragged, doing yeoman's work on the website and answering all these customer service questions and dealing with complaints and all the rest of it, and spearheading that whole website shift and all that stuff. And in addition to that, he has to go sell furniture 40 hours a week. So what we would really like would be to have enough new members, return members come in so that we could afford to get Scott on this full time. And then after that, we'll see about doing some other stuff. But it is back to the foundation, and the foundation is me delivering firewalls. So that's what we're going to be doing, by golly. And then hopefully the interviews will appear after that. Steve, I'm confident that we will. No, Scott is not CSR Actual. I'm CSR Actual. CSR 6 Actual. But we can think of something for him. Yeah, back to the basics. Do the work. And if you build it, they will come. That's what I believe, and that's what we're going to be doing. It's what we have been doing. So we've done Bill Whittle now for 5 months, something, and haven't missed a show that I'm aware of. So anyway.